See, in a thriller, a lot of dark locations, so the characters look a lot more gloomy and it makes everybody feel tense in the room.
So, first of all we have camera shots, and in camera shots you see a lot of slow panning and tracking shots. These sort of build tension and sort of create more films without much going on really, and that creates a real sort of dark and gloomy effect. Usually with music you have more slow and building sort of music, and you have a lot of crescendos as this sort of builds, and such as films such as Psycho you have sort of big builds and you have the big finale bit. For locations, usually these are more darker areas such as like more rural or sometimes urban areas, and these are usually in a dark location to build suspense more in the shot. Right, with costume, usually these are more, depending on the film, usually casual kind of clothes with more of a sort of tattered dark filter. Depending on the character, usually you have the antagonist and protagonist, which are dressed usually with a lot of contrast.
Okay. In a thriller film, I expect to see locations such as abandoned buildings, woods, etc. Some mostly dark locations to make the characters look gloomy and intimidating. Music that is used music that is edited consists of crescendos, which is when notes gradually build up to build suspense. Notes such as high notes and low notes can be used depending on the atmosphere. Makeup such as blood can be used, gore to costume that can be used includes dark clothing, masks so that the characters look scary, intimidating, mostly worn villains. Lighting, mostly dark lighting, can use some exposure effects to make some characters stand out more.
Okay. Some of the things I probably expect to see in a thriller very much is a lot of build-up tense atmosphere being developed throughout the story. And I like some of the ways they do this. A lot of the time they do it with music usually. They're usually quite tense. An example I can think of is Jaws. Has that very built-up, very tense type music. Is it? What will it happen? Won't it? And and then it usually gives you a lot to question literally every aspect of the film. What will happen next? What will happen to this character? Who will be affected? And that type of thing. And it does cover quite a broad horizon of films per se. And you've got a lot of films like Jaws. You also got Inception is another good example. Shutter Island. I'm now starting to think of films with Leonardo DiCaprio in it. But they do have a lot, they do cover really good type films. A lot of them are quite, good. A lot of them are quite prestigious. They have very good actors in it, like Leonardo DiCaprio. But yeah, there's also the type of atmosphere it sends can suddenly very dramatically change, where a scene can be very, peaceful or happy. It can suddenly become very drastic, very desperate per se. You also got films which also, like I said, use music. A lot of them use different types of camera shots, and also the story is very good. It always develops and always leaves you questioning what's going to happen next.
In a thriller film, there are lots of conventions used. One of these conventions which I like quite a lot is the idea of setting, because their sets are quite different to what you get in a drama or a comedy, because they're quite extravagant and grand and usually set in cities, but iconic ones like New York, LA, like for example films like Lethal Weapon, that's more of an action, but that's just what's popped in my mind. So these settings do give off an idea of there's a bigger risk to what will happen to the heroes if they don't find the criminal or find the murderer per se, because it will affect a wide area instead of just like a small village or small town, for instance. More conventions in thriller films which draw me in, is why I like the genre a lot, is also this very stereotypical character narrative, which will have the main protagonist and the main antagonist, who usually will encounter each other at the very end in a last fight, if you will. But these the protagonist normally is chasing the antagonist in the way of leaving clues, like in film 7, they never know that John Doe is the antagonist, so when you've got Detective Summerfield obviously trying to work out the clues to chase him down, for instance. You also get that in the film 12 Monkeys, with Bruce Willis's character trying to chase down the antagonist, going through time to find everything out. So that's the main reason why I like thriller films, that and the setting. And also, just to top it all off, I think this is all capsulated and brought up together really well with these music, because the non-diegetic music is really intense and keeps the audience very on the edge of your seat. And then, like compared to, say, a comedy film, which is just sort of actual songs in non-diegetic, this is more orchestrated music made for the film. And then the diegetic dialogue is usually quite insightful. When an antagonist uses his dialogue, it makes you think, and then usually they do a play when the antagonist could actually be on the right side of the law and is doing it for moral stability, which then, as I said, stimulates the mind quite a lot for this genre of film. So that's my opinion on thriller films.